Welcome back to Finnish Made Easier. Today we're going to be talking about making subjects plural. So the reason I specify subjects is because when we have an object in a sentence or something that is having something done to it, plurals are going to work a little bit differently rather than subjects. So subjects in Finnish, the thing that's doing something, like if I have the sentence I eat an apple, I would be the subject, apple would be the object. The subject is almost always in just its normal dictionary form, and its object is almost always in some sort of case. And so when we want to make an object plural, we have to kind of deal with the case it's in and still make it plural with that case. But with the subject, we're always just dealing with the dictionary form of a word, so it's really easy to do it. So to make a subject plural, all we do is we find the stem and we add T. So for example, I have these sentences here in words like the dogs eat or the people laugh. Dogs and people are subjects in these sentences. And so all we have to do is find their stem and add T. So like for dogs, the word for dog is koira, and that's also the stem since it ends in A. And so we just add a T, koirat. If you don't know exactly how noun stems work, I have some videos on noun stems that you can watch and that'll help with this. But if not, then that's okay. This will still help a little bit with knowing, kind of recognizing plurals when we have this T. Another example, with the people laugh, I have ihmiset, because ihminen is the word for person. And so we want to make that plural when it's the subject. We can just find the stem. The stem of ihminen is ihmise, and then we can just add a T. So ihmiset, then nauravat, and koirat syövät. The verbs, I'm not going to talk too much about in this video. If you want to learn about verbs, I've got some videos on those, but they're obviously going to conjugate to match the plural. So yes, it's really easy. We just have to find the stem and then add the T. The third thing is we do have to soften when we add these T's because it's just a single consonant. If you've seen any of my videos on softening, you know that when we have a consonant vowel that we're adding or a single consonant, when we add that ending onto something, that means we have to soften it. So since T is just a single consonant, when we add it to things, we have to check to make sure if we need to soften or not. And again, I've got a video on softening if you don't know what that is. It's also called kopete. But I just wanted to go through some examples and show how to make them plural. It's a pretty easy concept as long as they're the subject. Again, if it's going to have any case on it, plural is going to work a little bit differently. But as long as it's the subject of the sentence, making plurals is very, very easy. So for my first example, I have kissa, which is cat. So just like how in English, if we wanted to make that plural, we just add an S, be cats. To make it plural in Finnish, we're going to find the stem and add T. So the stem of kissa is just kissa because it ends in A, so it's just the exact same. So we can just add a T right onto there. Kissat. So kissat is cats. This next one, suomalainen, is Finn, so like a Finnish person. If I want to make this one plural, first I've got to find the stem. Since this is N-E-N, our stem is going to be suomalaise. Suomalaise. And then I can just add a T, so we get suomalaiset. So that would be Finns. So if I want to say something that Finns do, if they're ever the subject of my sentence, I can just add a T, suomalaiset. Next one, table, pöytä. This one, again, the stem is actually just the exact same since it ends in A. So we're just going to add a T on the end of here, but you might notice that this one might soften. So these first two didn't soften because we had an S before. An S isn't in our softening list. This one also had an S, so again won't soften. But this one, the consonant before where we're adding is a T, and T softens to D. So when we add our T onto the end, we're going to have to, whoops, sorry, spelled that wrong. That. We're going to have to add a D right here instead of that T. So pöydät. Instead of pöytä, pöydät. We're going to soften that T to a D when we add our plural T. So pöytä is table, pöydät is tables. This next one is a useful one to have in plural. Sukka is sock. So when we want to add a T onto this one, again, it's going to soften. What we're looking at here, the consonants is a double K before we're adding, and a double K softens to a single K. So when we add our T to go from sock to socks, we're going to use just a single K to get sukat. So this is a useful one again in plural. A single sock is sukka, but socks is sukat. And for my last example, kärme, which is snake. To do this one, we have to first find the stem. Remember, E actually does have a different stem than just the word itself. You're going to add another E, and then we can add the T. But RM does not soften, so we don't have to worry about softening, luckily. So I'm gonna write kärme, and then it's gonna have a double E, because this is the stem, has the double E, and then I can just add the T straight on there. Kärme is snakes in the plural. So yeah, like I said, making plural subjects is very, very easy. We just find the stem and add a T. Pretty easy to remember and pretty easy to recognize. When it has this T at the end, you can know it's pretty similar to just adding an S to the end of a word in English, where it just makes it into a plural. One last thing I wanted to mention before I end is some words always are in its plural version. And this is kind of similar to English too. So for example, the word glasses. So glasses are a singular object, but you see in English, they're also plural. We call it glasses with the plural S on the end. Same thing in Finnish, we're going to have silmälasit. And you notice it has this plural T at the end. It's the word for glasses. Same thing with something like scissors. In English, it's plural too, scissors. In Finnish, we got sakset, which has this plural T at the end. Some other examples, pants is housut. And then these last two are really interesting because these first ones, in English, we also do glasses, scissors, and pants are all also plural in English, even though they refer to a singular object. These last two are singular in English, but plural in Finnish. So like the word for face is kasvot. So just similarly to how pants and scissors are one object, but we use a plural word to talk about that singular object. In Finnish, kasvot is a plural word that just talks about face, a singular face. Same with brain is aivot, which is also going to be a plural word. So those are some interesting ones to look out for. If you see singular words that sometimes have a T at the end, it's probably one of those ones. But most of the time when you see a T, you can know that it's multiple of some certain subject. So it's as easy as that. It's pretty easy. If you have any questions though, you can put them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. I'll also have a document in the description that will kind of have some more examples of this and go a little bit deeper if you're interested in that. But thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Heippa!